श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। सत्वं विशुद्धं जलवत्तथापि ताभ्यां मिलित्वा शरणाय कल्पते। यत्रात्मबिम्बः प्रतिबिम्बितः सन् प्रकाशयत्यर्क इवाखिलं जडम्। The mind is constituted by the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, of which sattva is vishuddham. It is very pure. It is in the form of the faculty of cognition. That is what sattva is. Whereas rajas is activity and tamas is cover-up. This sattva gets mixed up with the rajas and tamas. And therefore, the beauty of that cognitive faculty called Vijnana Shakti is lost. And all the three, when these two mix up with the sattva, ultimately all the three put together, they create a samsara for us, samsaranaya kalpate. This you can appreciate well in this famous illustration, Sarpa Rajju Bhranti. There you see the Rajju, the rope, and then you say, I am, so this, you say. Unless you see something, you will not be able to say this. This follows. This is a serpent. That is your experience. In that experience, in that moment there is the experience, which is false. That is different, but it is the experience. In that there is this cognition of this is. So you are able to see something which is there, and that this is the truth, and that is sattva guna. That you are able to see something is there. Suppose a blind man is walking, he will not be able to see anything, therefore he will not mistake the rope for the serpent. Therefore the cognitive faculty is doing its job, and therefore that is sattva. This is. Not only you know a rope in the world, but also you know the rope resembles the serpent. That also is there in your head. Suppose you do not know that a rope resembles a serpent, then you will not see a serpent in the place of a rope. And you know there are serpents in the world, and you know that these serpents resemble ropes. All that is given. All that must be there in the background. Then only the projection of serpent happens. Therefore, there is so much sattva in that projection. The sattva element is disease, that is sattva. There are ropes and serpents in the world, and the ropes resemble the serpent or vice versa. All of that understanding or cognition is sattva. There is nothing wrong with that. Then the tamas, the avarana shakti, the power of covering up, it prevents you seeing the rope. So now you don't see the rope. Therefore the avarana shakti has been mixed with the sattva. Therefore instead of saying this is the rope, you fail to say this is the rope, because the rope part is covered up by the avarana shakti, the tamas. This is part is revealed by sattva. The rope part is covered up by tamas. Then there is the rajas aspect of the mind. In the mind there is rajas, and that rajas is always a projection. Whenever you are projecting, that is the movement of rajoguna. So you say he is a foe, he is a friend, this is I like, that I don't like. So all these projections are there. These are all projections. None of them is true. And so I own this, I do not own this, this is mine, this is somebody else's. Everything is a projection. In fact, What you call thinking or planning, etc., all of it is a projection. And only when you are goaded by projections, you desire things, you plan things of the world, and then you seek, you grab, and all those things. That is all merely the outcome of projections of the mind, because none of that is true. Even before your very eyes, what all you have accumulated or grabbed or accomplished, etc., it melts away like so much of a thin air. Nothing remains, because none of it is true. Anyway, so the point is, the mind is capable of enormous projections, and therefore it immediately projects a serpent. Why a serpent? Why not an elephant? Because an elephant doesn't resemble the rope. Only serpent resembles the rope. Therefore, not projecting an elephant, that is the glory of the sattva. Sattva is operating. Therefore, you don't project an elephant. Still sattva is operating. Because sattva makes you clearly see that only serpents resemble ropes, nothing else. And therefore, under the influence of sattva, the rajas projects. And therefore, rajas projects a serpent. And now you are afraid. That is samsara. The fear must be there. That is samsara. Therefore, this example doesn't work for a snake charmer. It works only for people who are afraid of serpents. And people are afraid of serpents. That in every culture, there is a fear of serpent. Like in Indian culture, there is a serpent everywhere. With Shiva there is serpent, with Vishnu there is serpent. Everywhere they put a serpent. And sometimes the serpents are very weird also, and put in all kinds of places, unnecessary, necessary. Everywhere they put serpents. And then in the Christian mythology there is serpent. The Satan is in the form of serpent or some such thing. So in India we worship serpents and we fear serpents. It's a kind of an ambivalent approach. Whereas in Christian mythology is outright hatred for the Saturn, which is in the form of serpent. But still, there is the serpent in every culture. I don't know about Islam. Therefore, the serpent, it stands for our sense of insecurity and fear. We are fundamentally insecure and fearsome people. That's why we see serpents everywhere. This is the projection. And therefore, as you see serpents everywhere, you are afraid of serpents. And so we live in fear. So, constantly living in fear, very insecure. We live in insecurity. We make a lot of money and put all of it in the bank, and yet we remain insecure. And we accumulate a variety of gadgets of sense pleasures, and yet we remain insecure. And we make a setup called family, get married, give birth to children, and then put a few servants, etc. If it is a feudalistic society, that is how it happens. In India, rich people do that. They put a few servants in the home, around themselves. They put some male and female servants. So, dasihi, dasaha, all of them, dasyaha, dasihi. Prabhutam dasyoshvana vindeyam purushanaham. So dasyaha is dasihi. You make it into dvitiya bahuvachanam. And ashvana, purushan is male servants and female servants. So that is all part of the feudalistic lifestyle, and therefore that becomes part of the prayers also. So like that. This is how, in spite of making such an enormous setup of family and all that, we remain insecure. The more money you make for security reasons, you become more insecure. The more you try for security, the more insecure you become. And so this is how people live. And therefore the sattva-rajas-tamo gunas together, they work together, and the mind is a combination of all the three. This is how the mind tricks us into samsara. That is the first. Saranaya kalpate. Kalpate means samartho bhavati. It is indeed powerful enough to give you samsara to you, to push you into samsara. But then all this is happening because there is the light of Atma behind. Yatra, in which mind Atma bimbaha pratibimbitas san. This is called bimba pratibimba bhava. You cannot have one of them. You cannot say Atma bimba unless it reflects in the mind as pratibimba. So pratibimba is what the reflection. Bimba is that which reflects. So it is always relative. There is that which reflects and therefore you have reflection. There is reflection, therefore there is something which is reflecting. That is the bimba pratibimba. Bimba is the reflecting thing and pratibimba is the reflection. And therefore the reflection, here the light is reflected, you know. It is all about light. But only you have to cautiously appreciate, I said it a few times, it is not the physical light. The light is of two kinds, outer light which is physical and the inner light, that is the light of awareness, that knowingness. When the physical light falls upon an object, the object comes to light, the shines. When the inner light covers or envelopes an object, that object comes to be known. That object becomes evident. I mean, knowing in that sense evident. Outside light also makes it evident. That not that kind of evident. It becomes known. It comes into the knowledge. It becomes the object of knowledge, object of cognition, knowing. That is the light, that inner light. And therefore, that inner light, the moment you have light, now you have the possibility of reflection. You can talk of reflection because it is light. Metaphor. These are all metaphors. If you don't understand the metaphor correctly and then fail to take it as a metaphor, then the whole thinking process is derailed. Now there is no thinking left. It looks very ridiculous. You see, a young man told his beloved, I love you because your face is like that of the moon. They say like that. So, immediately he was happy, went home, and then next day morning she opened the newspaper. On the front page, the Apollo 9 captures the image of moon from very close quarters. There the image of the moon is kept. The moon is exactly circular and lots of craters and lines, etc. on the moon. That is the image, very three-dimensional, very, very prominent image. And she saw that image. Is this my face? Then this man came next that evening and I hate you because you say that my face is like this. So this is what is called the failure to understand a metaphor. Metaphor you have to understand correctly. He doesn't mean that moon is full of craters and ups and downs, etc. Mountains and craters. That is what the moon is. So her face is like that. That is not what he means. What he means is, metaphorically speaking, moon, when you look at the moon, your heart leaps with joy, assuming that there is some such thing with you. If you don't know any such thing, then the simile is not for you. Okay? If there is some such thing, that sense, that tenderness, if you have in your heart, then looking at the moon, you become happy. Similarly, when I look at you, I become happy. That is the meaning of that. It's a metaphor. And so if you don't understand the metaphor correctly, it sounds ridiculous. And so I come across people who misinterpret the metaphor. That's why I'm saying like that. Therefore, it is the light of awareness which reflects in the mind. And the sun, prakashayatyarka iva, akhilam jadam. So the mind is able to cognize the entire universe. You see, you hear the word sarvam, all. All is what? All is what? When you say all, it is called universal set. In the language of set theory of mathematics, all is called universal set. Universal set is a relative thing. In a given context, what all things you consider, those things constitute what is called universal set. Suppose I say all the students of Vedanta class, that is the universal set. That doesn't include the entire universe. It includes some 150 students only, but still it is universal set. I say all the pages of my book, that is again universal set. There are only 100 pages. So 100 is the number of pages that are there in the universal set. Universal set can have two things also. Can have 200 things or 2 million things. It depends upon the context. Now you come to yourself. Suppose you say all. So what does it mean? That is a universal set. Means all the things that you have cognized. That is what all is. And all that is illuminated by the sun, the inner sun. Therefore, now you are Sarvajna. You are the one who knows all. Then people say, no, I am not Sarvajna. God is Sarvajna. God is Sarvajna. True, God is Sarvajna. True. But you are that God. Tattvamasi, Then this is the big Purvapaksha of the Dvaitins. That how can Jiva can be Ishvara? Because Ishvara is Sarvajna, omniscient, whereas Jiva is Alpajna, he knows a little. No, the argument doesn't stand, logic, because Jiva doesn't know little, he knows all. He knows all that he knows. Okay? Therefore, this all is a universal set, and therefore Jiva is also Sarvajna, as much as Ishvara is Sarvajna. That is a digression. So coming back to the point, the sun of light is shining behind all the time and reflecting in the mind, thereby enabling the mind to cognize the whole universe. That is what he means, akhilam jadam. What is all cognized by the mind is jada. Here jada chetana mane, jada is that which doesn't know, which is always the known, never the knower. Whereas chetana is always the knower, never the known. That is the distinction between jada and chetana. And therefore, real chetana, real knower is the mind, is the Atma, like the sun. And then when the Atma reflects in the mind becomes as though knower. It is like the mirror appears shining, luminous. Mirror is not luminous, it is as opaque as anything else, but because of its softness and smoothness, it is very soft and smooth, therefore it can reflect the light of the sun well, which other things cannot, and therefore mirror appears luminous. Similarly, the mind appears the power as if it is endowed with the power of knowing all by itself. It is independently knowing. It looks like that. It is neither independent nor self-sufficient in its cognitive faculty. It entirely depends upon the reflection of the awareness absolute, which is the Atma. So, through the mind, Atma illuminates the entire universe of things, through the mind. Suppose there is no mind, then the Atma doesn't illuminate anything by itself. That's why I give this example. I gave it one time, I give it again, because it is the most beautiful example that fits into the context. Namely, the sunlight by itself doesn't illuminate anything. The sunlight reflects in the atmosphere and becomes daylight, and then only it illuminates the objects of the world. All the objects of the world. All means what? Whatever is there around, all of those are illuminated. So that is the Atma. Now, what you see, the whole thing, this reflection thing can be summarized as, it is like entering into a dark room. So, as you enter the dark room, you see nothing. No objects, no colors, not even any outlines you see, because it is a dark room. Then the window opens ever so slightly, and the room is flooded with light. And now all the shapes come to light, and the colors also come to light. In fact, you know that there is a form, only when you know the form. Therefore, knowing is the prerequisite to say something is. There cannot be a thing which is altogether unknown to you. What kind of existence would it be that is altogether unknown to you? Therefore, the moment you know a thing, in doing so, you make the thing to come into existence. In fact, it comes into existence even as you know the thing. Therefore, all these colors and shapes, they come into existence as you know them. Now, the window which has slightly opened, it appears to be the giver of light. It is not the giver of light. Window doesn't give light. Window doesn't have light. It doesn't give you the light. Light is always given by the sun, not by the window. Window only allows the light to flood in. So, light is there, which makes all the things of the room come to light. But that light, window is not the source of that light. Sun is the source of that light. That is the example. Similarly, all the objects of the world are illuminated by the mind. Illuminated means they come to the light of knowledge because of the mind. Mind cognizes all the objects of the world. And therefore, mind is illuminating all the objects of the world. Like mind is the window now. That is the illustration, not mirror, window. But then, so the mind is not the source of that light of awareness. Mind is not the source. Mind is only like a window. And the Atma, inner Atma, is the source. Okay? That is the way you have to understand. Mind is only like a window. When the window of the mind closes, that is when you go into sleep. When the window of the mind is opening, that is when the light of awareness of the Son of Atma floods in, and all the objects of the mind, all the objects of thought come to light. Therefore, there are a few implications from the description which is given. One, what you call the world is but the movement of your mind. And in fact, you can immediately conclude that the world is but the conception of the world. Because without the conceiving mind, there is no world. Therefore, the conceiving mind or the moving mind alone appears as the world. Like you say, he is my friend. That is the movement of mind which appears as friend. But the movement of mind is inside, friend is outside. Yeah, that is the Maya. Whatever is inside is outside, and whatever is outside is inside. Okay? Therefore, that is the Maya. Vishwam, Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Vishwam, wo kahan hai? Nijantargatam, which is within oneself. And therefore, it is so the Atma, it illuminates the mind, and the mind, therefore the world, what you call the world, along with the notion of the outside, the world outside, that outsideness and that world, all of it is in the mind only. Suppose it is not in the mind, will you be able to call it outside or world or whatever name can you give to it? You cannot. Therefore, it is always the mind which holds what you call the universe. Therefore, when you say the friend is in the mind, not outside the mind, but appears outside the mind. That is the Maya. And when you say foe, the foe is also in the mind, not outside. And therefore, what you call friend or foe, they are not outside. They are in the mind only. Then what is there outside? Everything is divinity. But the mind interprets the divinity as the opposites, friend and foe, good and bad, like that. This is how, that's why Jagat is mithya. It is but the movement of mind, but the projection of the mind. But even the shadow, like world, like mithya, needs to be connected to the real, which is the light of awareness, which is Atma. And therefore, that Atma is always shining, like the sun. When the window of the mind is open, Atma is shining. When the window of the mind is closed, then also Atma is shining. And we, in our folly, in our ignorance, identify with the body-mind. With the mind and with everything that is brought to light by the mind. And therefore, the body, what is the body? You see, we make such a big deal about the body. What is the body? The body is an idea in the mind. That is what the body is. And when the body becomes sick, it is the idea in the mind that becomes sick. And sickness itself is another idea. And the treatment is an idea. The doctor is one more idea. Everything is an idea. And therefore, we need to go through all those motions, but no need to identify with it. So, in fact, all sickness, all disease originates in the mind. It originates in the mind. Suppose knee pain. Knee pain, you see, you don't even know that there is a knee to begin with. Kneecap, that there is a kneecap. You don't even know that there is a kneecap. The kneecap, it is worn out, and then it stimulates some nervous currents, and then all of it is recognized in the mind, and the mind projects a pain, and then that is the knee pain. Therefore, every pain originates in the mind. Every disease originates in the mind. And so what is the use of this knowledge? It is very useful. Once you know all pain originates in the mind, and then if you examine the pain, you witness the pain, you externalize the mind, you externalize the body, you externalize the pain, and you examine the pain, watch the pain undergoes a metamorphosis. It gets transformed. It is not the so-called continuous pain. The pain will have an interesting dynamics, namely it shoots up and then subsides, again shoots up and subsides. You will be able to know all that. You can see all that, provided you externalize the mind, the body and the pain. Everything you have to externalize, because it is all movement of mind only. That's why if the mind is put to rest, you don't experience any pain whatsoever. So when they give morphine, they knock off the nervous system and the mind, and therefore the pain is not there. You need to have the nervous system and the mind working in tandem to make the pain possible. Therefore it is all in the mind. And therefore it is all mithya. I do not recommend that you don't take medicine and all that. You take your medicine, but it is all disease begins in the mind. You should know that. And so pain has its own dynamic that you can witness it. When you know all this, and you have that inner strength of mind, inner strength, and you operate this witnessing, etc., properly, the pain subsides. The pain is now seen not as continuous. That is a big relief. And then it is seen as a shooting and coming down, going up and coming down, like spiky it is. It is a series of spikes. And between the spikes there is relief also. And then slowly the spikes will get leveled out and the pain comes down. Normal pain, some simple pain comes down. But if it is more pain, you may have to take a pill. Therefore, this is how the body itself is an idea in the mind. You have to know that. Suppose you make the body very concrete, and very solid thing it is, then having made it like that in ignorance, you have to pay a bitter price for all that. And if you are willing to pay the price, you are welcome. So this is, therefore, you have to find out your Swarupa. Your Swarupa is not the body, not the mind. The variety of states that the mind projects about the body, about yourself, about what you possess or what you do not possess, etc. All of this is merely a projection of the ignorant mind, a rajasic mind, and so you have to transcend the body mind. You have to go beyond the body mind. You don't want to get locked up in the body mind identification in terms of me and mine. Me is body mind identification, and mine is the things connected to the body mind are identified with as mine. Therefore, you don't want to get locked up in that. So you want to transcend the body mind. And so you have to find your true self. So by seeking within, not without. So you have to seek within. No, I have to take the instruction from the Guru. Please do that by all means. Please do that. And if you have to pay some respect to the Guru, do that also. You should do that. Some meaningful respect, not some ritualized reverence. You know what is ritualized reverence? Please understand the spirit of what I am saying. Take two ropes and make the Guru sit in a chair. With one rope you tie his trunk to the chair so that he won't move. And with the other rope you tie both the legs and put the legs in a plate, silver plate, or even gold better, and put honey and milk and curds on the feet. You have to tie with the ropes, otherwise he wants to run away. I mean, ropes means may not be physical ropes, psychological ropes you have to put, or customs, etc., some such ropes, because now he cannot get up. He has to, suppose he has to go to bathroom, he has to wait till you finish your Ashtottara Shatanamadheya. So this kind of ritualized reverence is misleading, unnecessary, counterproductive, and it puts the whole focus outside, away from the truth. You should avoid all these things. And you should become simple. Be simple. Don't be so complex in yourself. Be simple. He is a wise person, elderly also. Sometimes wise people are elderly also. Not always. Sometimes. Age difference doesn't matter. Gunah puja sthanam gunishu. Nacha lingam nacha vayaha. Bhavabhuti. Therefore, it is not the age or the gender which matters. Nacha lingam nacha vayaha. So it is only the knowledge, the wisdom that matters. So we respect the wisdom and we prostrate unto the teacher, and without disturbing the teacher. Suppose the teacher is running and you prostrate and he misses the steps and falls. It happens all the time. Thank God the teacher is alert enough to keep him standing, otherwise he will fall down. People are really crazy, I tell you. This is called ritualized reverence. You should avoid all that. You should be simple. Are simple raho bhai. Why do you want to make things so complicated? Anyway, that is all digression. So take the cue. Cue means lesson, you know, cue, C-U-E-Q, lesson. Take the lesson from the preceptor. By all means, you should. And then you have to pay your respects also. You need some service, do that. Instead of doing Ashtottara Puja to the feet, apply some Narayana Tailam to the kneecap and to the calf muscles and give some massage. That will do some such useful thing. What is the 10 times you do Namaskar? Why don't you apply some Narayana Tailam to the kneecap and do some massage? Some useful thing you should do. So anyway, you have to take the lesson from the scripture also. Scripture doesn't have truth. The book will have truth in it. Who told you? Book cannot have truth in it. If book has a truth in it, then all the libraries are there all over the world, and therefore everybody has truth. Just go to the library and pick up the truth. So nowadays all the scriptures are digitalized also. You need not even go to library. The library is at your home. You purchase a Kindle and everything is in your home. So books do not have truth, you know. First books, first preceptor, then books, then seek within. You have to seek within. And so Shrotavyaha, up to that, preceptor and the books, scriptures. And then Mantavyo Nididhyasitavyaha. In Mantavya, there is no preceptor. You are the preceptor now. The book could be there. And in Nididhyasitavya, even the book is set aside. Only you are there. You are the preceptor, you are the scripture, you are the pupil, everything you are. So you have to seek within. And you have to understand your own self is your best friend. You see, you have to cultivate that friendship with the inner self so that outer distractions will be gone. Otherwise what happens, you look within and you get bored soon because you have more attractions outside. That way, Nididhyasana, it doesn't work effectively. Therefore, you have to understand that your own self is your best friend. You see, you have to look at yourself as, I am what I am. I am myself. That is the way you have to look at yourself. You should not look at yourself as I am old, I am young, I am middle-aged, I am retired, I am unhappy, I am happy, I am fortunate, I am not so fortunate, and I am male, I am female. You have to rise above all these misleading self-identifications and self-definitions. You simply say to yourself, I am neither rich nor poor, neither this nor that. So you cannot be either this or that. You can only be yourself. So you tell yourself, I am myself. So that's all. And so the entire waking consciousness with all its content is illuminated by the light of awareness, which is the self. The content, that is the waking consciousness and its content, all of that is unreal. That is the meaning of Jagat Mithya. What you call Jagat is the content of your waking consciousness. That is the Jagat. There is no other Jagat. And that Jagat is Mithya, unreal. Then what is real? The light alone is real. Like movie, the light alone is real. All the scenes that you see in that light are all unreal. Therefore, the self is the source. And then one more thing. Instead of seeking what you do not have, that is what is called desire. So instead of seeking what you do not have, try to discover what you have. Suppose I am poor and I want a diamond ring. I am seeking a diamond ring. That is the silliest thing to do. Being poor, how can you seek a diamond ring? A rich man can go and purchase it and get done with it. But a poor man cannot do it either. And so, you see, once I was privy. Privy means I listened to some discussion going on. Not that I wanted to listen, but it fell in my ears. So, the young girl says to father and mother, I want a diamond ring. And the mother says, you see, your father has to approve it. Without the approval of the father, you cannot just go to the market and purchase a diamond ring. It costs 100,000 rupees. That is also the price. That is what she selected. And then, I was privy to this kind of a discussion. I was in Chennai and then I was privy. So don't think that I was overhearing or I was eavesdropping. No, I don't do such thing. You should not get that kind of a notion. That's why I'm saying. So the mother is trying to console. No, don't push like that. Your father has to approve and we have to see what is the finance position, this and that. Then father came. What is going on? So she is asking for a diamond ring. Its cost is 100,000 rupees. Father said it is not possible. It is wrong to desire such things. That is what father says. And this girl says, there is nothing wrong to desire. That is what the girl says. Then father asked, where from you got this? That there is nothing wrong to desire. I am saying it is wrong to desire such things. Then the girl says it is nothing wrong to desire because the such and such religious leader told me that it is nice to desire, to have desires. Desires are privileges. And it is wonderful to have desires. That is what the leader told me. And that is what I heard from the religious leader. That is what she said. And the father, he was stunned. Because now the girl quotes a religious leader. Father is a clerk. He is not a religious leader. He is not an authority in religion. And now the girl is quoting an authoritative religious leader. So that way, instead of seeking what you do not have and go into a spiral of suffering, you find out what is it that you have. You have infinite happiness within you. And that which is there before beginning and after ending of every experience, that is the self. That is the light of awareness. It is there before every experience and it is there at the end of every experience. And it has no birth and it has no death. You should come out of this birth-death thing it is. So, that immobile, that kutastha, immobile, immutable self, the light of awareness, which is not affected by birth and death of the body or of the mind, various experiences of the mind also it is not affected. That you should realize, and that is Atma, and you become liberated. Then somebody has a doubt. What about Ishvara? So people are hung up or obsessed with the dualistic Ishvara. Why do you worry about Ishvara? So the cognitive mind is there. The world is what the cognitive mind perceives or conceives. And then there is the light of awareness which makes the cognitive mind shine, without which there can be no conception of the world. So that completes the whole picture. No, what about Ishvara? Are what Ishvara are you talking about? The Ishvara is that light of awareness. That is the Ishvara. So you mean to say I am not conscious of Ishvara and I am talking something else, leaving Ishvara alone? You have a funny notion of Ishvara as a gentleman sitting somewhere. And so you have to praise that gentleman occasionally and keep amused occasionally so that he won't become a spoil sport. You got all wrong notions about it. This dualistic Ishvara is not what you have to worship. You have to worship the Ishvara who is your own innermost self. That is the Atma. So, in Brahma Sutra, there is a Purvapaksha. It appears in Ratna Prabha. You don't find it in the Brahma Sutra itself. Bhashya is very brief. So, in the Janmadhyadhikaranam itself it is there, I suppose. I think so. The Purvapaksha is, you are talking of Atma, the light of awareness, and the Jagat which comes to light. You did not say anything about Brahma, because it is Brahma Jijnasa, Athato Brahma Jijnasa. You are always talking of Atma and the light of awareness which is the Atma, and the world which comes to light in that light. And the world is unreal, Atma is real. Like that you are making a big deal. What about Brahma? We are not talking of Jagat, we are not talking of Atma, it is the Vichara of the Brahma. Then Shankara replies to that Purvapaksha by saying, Atma cha Brahma. Why do you worry about Brahma? When I say Atma, that is the Brahma. So, they are just synonyms. And therefore, after hearing all this discussion, while walking out of the class, class is fine, but there is no Ishvara in the class. You don't end up like that. That Atma that I am talking about is the Ishvara. There is no other Ishvara. Then comes, in fact, I say you worship that inner consciousness, the source of that consciousness. The consciousness is there. It projects a world. We go and worship that world. Stop it. And you watch that consciousness, and there, the source of that light, which makes the consciousness shine, find that out and worship that. So you worship your own inner consciousness, you worship that. That is the real worship of God. Okay? You should not forget this is Advaita Vedanta class, okay? Here things will be like that only. This is not some Purana class. That's why that is the language which is presented here. Next sloka. Mishrasya sattvasya bhavanti dharmaha tvamanitadya niyamayamadyaha Shraddha cha bhaktischa mumukshuta cha Daivi cha sampatti rasannivrittihi. Maybe we can conclude this study session of 10 days with this verse, probably. If time is there, we don't mind going to the next verse. The verse says, asannivrittihi. Elimination of the unreal. So till now we have seen the signs of ajnana. Why pursue the signs of ajnana? So that you can get rid of ajnana. It is like in medicine, they study pathology. There are pathologists. They are called doctors behind the doctors. These pathologists, you don't find them. Suppose you go to a hospital, you don't see any pathologist there. You don't see the interface of the hospital will not have a pathologist. Generally, pathology department will be somewhere in the bowels of the hospital, where only they know where it is. The patients won't know where it is. And it is out of bounds for the patients. And only samples will be going there and reports will be coming out. And inside those bowels of the hospital, in the pathology department, there are doctors who study the disease. Pathology, that is their study. From that study emerges the way out of disease. Similarly, so by studying the science of ajnana for 10 days, it makes the way, it paves the way for getting out of ajnana. Asannivrittihi. Asat is unreal. Unreal. What is ajnana there? Taking that as real. That is the ajnana. And therefore, asannivrittihi. So you cultivate these things, these qualities, and that puts an end to this ajnana. So what are those things to cultivate? To begin with, your consciousness must be rich in sattva and weak in rajas and tamas. That is the mishrasya sattvasya. Some rajas and some tamas will be there. You need that tamas to go to sleep. Otherwise, without tamas, you cannot sleep. So, some tamas is required. So, you need to keep it because you have to sleep well. And therefore, tamas we need it. And then some rajas you need. You have to go for bhandara and have some food, some nice food they serve. And so, you have to walk to the bhandara and wait for the food to be served and eat it, etc. Some activity, daily chores will be there. You have to keep the hygiene of the body by taking bath, etc. And some worships also you may want to do, some nitya karma, etc. Rising sun, you want to make a prayer, you need that rajas. The mind has to remember the prayer, the organ of speech has to speak or utter the prayer. So all this is the movement which you require. They will be there in their place. It is the time for tamas, you allow that to happen. Like after some nice lunch, it is my friend Swami used to be there. He used to say horizontal time. After lunch, it is horizontal time, and not vertical time. So Swamiji, I want to discuss with you after lunch, not after lunch, because after lunch it is horizontal, not vertical. So, therefore, some tapas you have to keep. Similarly, rajas. But sattva must be very brilliant. Shining sattva you should have. Means sattva means what? You are study oriented, always studious. What is it? Studious. Or studious, I don't know. You can call it studious. Or studious. Yeah, you should be like that. And then very devoted to the knowledge and truth. And then very loving. Love is sattva. We will come to that also. I will speak a little about love. And then very dispassionate. Because passion is rajas. Passion. I like that diamond ring. I need to have it. I should have it. That is rajas. So I have to drive a BMW or some such thing. That is rajas. Passion, any passion. And the ritualists have the passion for heaven. They have to go to heaven or paradise. That is also another thing, another name for heaven. So this passion is a rajas, and dispassion. So you remain very dispassionate. That is rajas, vairagya. That is sattva. And so that's sattva. And how to know that sattva is dominating? How to know? So you find these qualities. It works both ways. When sattva dominates, these qualities you find in the person's life. And when the qualities are cultivated, that helps to improve the sattva state. Therefore, it works both ways. So he is able to do good exercise. Why? Because he is very healthy. But then how did he become very healthy? By doing good exercise. Like that. Therefore, pay attention to these qualities that are coming now. And then sattva will improve. And as sattva improves, those qualities will express more and more and more. Ultimately, lo behold, you will realize your swarupa and asannivurtihi. All the samsara, the mithya samsara only, not the real samsara. That mithya samsara only makes us suffer. You don't need a real serpent to make you afraid. A mithya serpent is enough. And so that will get out. It will be gone from your life. And you will be a liberated soul, now and here, while living in this body and in this world. So that is how it works. Now he gives list after list of qualities that represent sattva guna. You should not be disturbed by seeing such big lists, because these qualities are all interconnected. It is like you pull one leg of the table, all the other three legs also will come to you. Similarly, you get hold of one quality and cultivate. Half a dozen other qualities are already cultivated in you. With one come a dozen or half a dozen. Therefore, the list is, you should not be worried about the big list. In fact, it is the list is given to facilitate, so that more things are told. They all being interrelated will facilitate the cultivation of sattva guna. So at every aspect of life, in every turn of life, there is an expression of the sattva guna that you should cultivate. That is the meaning of these lists. And the first list is amanitadyaha. The acharya means that you go through that list. That is the meaning. So in these texts, they don't go on giving list. They give the first member of the list and say etc. So like in the countries' names also, G7 countries means there is a list of 7 countries. America, Britain, France, and then Germany, Russia, and 2 more. That is the G7. Then G20 countries. India is there in G20 countries. Another list. BRICS, another list. Brazil, Russia, India, C and S something. So like that, these are the lists, Similarly here in Gita and in Vedanta also we have our own lists. So the first list is amanitadyaha. So amanitvam adambhitvam. Like that there is a big list in Gita. 20 qualities are there. Don't be worried about the big number 20. By the time you get one, you will get a dozen of them. It is like a sweeping. But it is interesting to know what are all those qualities. Even while knowing, you grow into those qualities. That is the power of knowing. So, amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, rajyavam, acharyopasanam, shaucham, shaucham atma vinigraha, dhairyam atma vinigraha, and so like vairagyam indriyartheshu. Like that it goes on and on. So we will briefly mention those qualities one after the other. The first one is amanitvam. So amanitva means absence of vanity and pride. So absence of self-importance. People have this self-importance. They want to make themselves important, powerful. And this is what is called ambition, this manitvam. So people are very ambitious and they have to be respected by everybody else in this society. That is called manitvam. And their word should carry a lot of weight in the social circles. So there is a list of who is who. Their name should appear in the who is who. So this kind of self-importance people cultivate. That is called manitvam. Manaha syastiti mani, maninaha bhavaha manitvam, na manitvam amanitvam. The absence of self-importance. You see, some people come with a big profile. Very big profile they present. Like A godman comes like this. First the mala comes. Then the tilaka comes. Then the shawl comes. There is golden shawl it is. And before all these things, sishyas come before. Come on, move, like that, like a rock star going. And some more sishyas come from behind. A religious person like that, like a rock star. Can you believe it? Such a things happening. And so then Harati. Somebody sneezes, Harati. Harati for the mala, for the gold, for the dress, etc. So like that. All ostentatiousness, showiness, that is dambha. I started discussing mana and ended in dambha. They are all interrelated, you know. So amanitva, madammitva, they go together. You see, people are ambitious. And ambition is a virtue. It is called social morality. In the context of social morality, ambition is a virtue. And I tell you, social morality is no morality at all. Whatever society considers moral is invariably immoral. Society wants you to make a lot of money. Is that moral or immoral? It is immoral. Society wants you to be successful, meaning enjoying sense pleasures continuously, unbridled pursuit of sense pleasures. That is what is called success. And society defines success like that. That is very immoral. So the social morality is entirely immoral. Therefore, the society considers ambition as a virtue. It is not a virtue, it is a vice. Because you know what happens when you are ambitious? Suppose you are ambitious, what happens? You know, you are always thinking of yourself. That is what an ambitious person does. He is always thinking of himself. And so, when you are ambitious, you are cruel. And you push other people aside because you are ambitious. Because you have to fulfill your ambition. Therefore, whosoever comes in the way has to be pushed aside. So these ambitious people, they form a partnership. They enter into a partnership with one person and take the resources from that person and then make the company big and then ditch the partner, throw him aside, and now he moves forward. And he has gone a few notches above in the social ladder of wealthy people, and then form another partnership with a more wealthy person and become even more wealthier, and then ditch that partner, like that. They marry to further their ambition. They don't marry to have a happy, loving relationship. They marry to further their ambition. That is how. And for them, giving birth to children is also part of the ambition. So they are very cruel and very insensitive people, the ambitious people are. And always trying to become a big man, thereby creating in the society a conflict between big people and small people. They create a conflict like that. And therefore, by the time the definition of success as given by the society is pursued, you create a conflict in the society between successful people and unsuccessful people. Everybody eats the same food, the same amount. But you create such a mythical conflict in the society, and all because of one person's ambition. So, and when a person is ambitious and is continuously pursuing what he wants or desires, there will be certainly a conflict, a constant battle between himself and people around him who are likely to thwart his ambitions. So, an ambitious person is a very selfish person. So, suppose you do a work not because of ambition. People counter, when there is no ambition, there will be no progress, this and that. So I counter that question with this question. Suppose you do a work, whatever work it is, with your whole being, not because of ambition, you do that work, but because you love to do that work. Like taking a class, I can convert it into a means of ambition, which I may entertain in my mind. I have to become a Mandaleshwar or Mahamandaleshwar, whatever ambition is there. Or I can do the same work. Taking a class is the same work. I can do it because I love it. I just love to do it. There is no ambition in that love. Simply love alone is there. And therefore in that there is no competition. When there is no ambition, there is no competition. And therefore you are not struggling with anybody for the first place. You are not struggling to gain or garner a higher position or power. You do the same thing you do. If you are doing a business, you do the same thing because you love to do it. You do it with your whole being, not for acquiring something with ambition. Therefore, you need not change the work that you are doing. If it is an honest profession, you need not give it up. You can still continue with it. But you do it with love and with your whole being, not for ambitious sake, not to gain first place in an imaginary list. Therefore, then there is a joy in that doing, and there is a fulfillment in that doing. And therefore life becomes a path of self-knowledge, even while pursuing your activity. It is the ambition which is so much poisonous that is there in the people's lives. And therefore, so that should not be there. Amanitvam, adambhitvam means both of them now have combined. So dambha is so much hypocrisy and contradictory lifestyle. And so dambha is inside the room you are a different person, outside in the society you are a different person. That is dambha. And if somebody puts a hidden camera, you are in trouble now. Because of dambha. Suppose you say, life is an open book. You need not put a camera and all that. Why to do that, such a silly thing? But life is an open book. You interact with people openly. What is wrong with it? You do what you do, whatever you do it openly. But all things you need not openly. Like, for example, you need not take a shower openly. That is unnecessary. Therefore, so this dambha should not be there. Ambition and dambha, both are interrelated. Amanitvam, adambhitvam. Similarly, other things. We will go through this list briefly. I already covered 2. And in the evening class, we will pursue this list some more. So at this point, we will conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam.